about our country. And as Zambians, we should be very proud of our leader. First of all, it talks about the mining leading the way of economic performance or economic growth of Zambia. The mining sector is always on the center of this, and it has led. You can imagine it was minus something percent when the UPNDA took government, but now it's at 5.8% growth rate this year as we speak, and next year is projected to 6%. It's all mining, and this article talks specifically about the things that are going on in Zambia in terms of mining. One, the copper output, they call it the surge in copper production. There is an uphill increase in the copper production in our country. Right now, from last year to this year, it says, this article, I'm not going to read word for word, but this article says Zambia copper output has exceeded, the target is 1 million metric tons per year. But just last year, the production went to 222,000 metric tons, which is 30% increase from the previous year. So from 2024 to 2025, Zambia copper production has gone up by 30%. Okay? And they are projecting that from 2025 to 2026, it will go up by about 15%, 12 to 15%. So we are really going to hit that 1 million target by 2027, 28. So it's really good thing. And then they talk about specific projects that have gained fruits, that have come to conclusion. The first one they talk about is that the first quantum minerals has completed a 1.25 billion expansion at Kansanshi.
Yes.
It has been put there. And it also talked about Barrick Gold having invested real $2.2 billion to double the output at Wanama and extended the mine's life to 2057. So this is things that have been completed according to this Africa mining focus Africa. And then they talked about things that are in the pipeline. All right. They talked about Mopani Mines, the resurgence program, blah, 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 blah. Cobalt, I don't know who Cobalts are, Anglo-American and all that. So they're talking about 3 other projects that are in the pipeline. Within this year, they're going to come to fruition. So to me, it's really, really something positive. Our country is really on the right path. They talk about geological mapping drive, which is in Zambia right now, which is really pinpointing where our minerals are. I had no idea that we were still living in prehistoric ages where we didn't know what was in our ground, in our soil until now. We know exactly what Zambia holds as of now, thanks to the technology that the government has engaged with these high tech. So to me, this is very positive. I really, really like it. What's going on, and as my friend Chandagazia said, the people on the ground have to start benefiting. But to me, as a Zambian, I think when you start looking at the trickle effects of development in any country, Malaysia, for example, when it did that, the Malaysian people started, is it Malaysia or whatever? Yeah, I think it's Malaysia.
Singapore.
Yeah, Singapore. They started seeing the benefits of what the president did after 15 years, 15. That's when an ordinary Singapore citizen started seeing the effects. So the moment you are investing these huge things in the mining sector, you're increasing the production of copper by average 25% per year after year. Of course, the price of minimum, the salaries are not going to come today. We have to know that economic turnaround takes time. This is only 3 years, 4 years. We are not going to see it. We have to be realistic. We are not going to, that civil servant is not going to have 100% salary increase today. It will not happen because the trickle effects will take. A good example in this same article they talked about Zambian. What about the Zambian? If you read the article, what about the Zambian? Is he enjoying? And they said they have to be patient. The Singapore, whatever, the country in Asia, that started such type of thing, the citizens started seeing the effects of the economic recovery after 15 years. So if us as Zambians are going to say, okay, we produced 220 metric tons of copper yesterday, increase our salaries as well today, that's not being realistic. Let's be patient. The economic turnaround takes years, people. It takes years. It's not something like you go to the grocery store, someone gives you $10, tomorrow you're going to buy a loaf of bread. No, it doesn't happen that way. So that's all I can tell the Zambians. Let's be patient. We are on the right track. And let's get an example of, is that Singapore? Yeah, Singapore example. 15 years passed before an ordinary the citizens started enjoying the benefits of their president's direction. So, to me, that's what I can say. I know the oppositions are saying, "What's the price of mini meal? What's the salary of a civil servant? You can't buy a kabeka meda." Blah blah blah. You need let's hold on, people. Let's hold on. Things gonna be better. Thank you.
Vakazi, I think you got a lot to say on this one.
Yeah, no, but you see, but Dan's point of view for the long term is right. You see, for the long term is right, but there are certain short-term measures that make the long-term vision not to be appreciated. And if they are not taken care of, that is where everything is lost. And we've been losing that long-term view because we are ignoring the short-term ones. One of the short-term ones is this. How do we explain you have an engineer, Zambian trained, worked in the mine maybe 10 years, right now as it is, a geologist 10 years, and then you have an experienced geologist who is employed in Australia by First Quantum, and then he shows up at the doors of, and starts to work with the Zambian. Then the Zambian is getting $5,000 per month. Then this guy is getting $25,000. You see, this unfair.
Okay, I think those are the issues that you should have dealt with while you're holding that office.
This is why I was telling you about the law, the changing of the law. The law was changed, and we started to deal with that.
Yeah, but the law is not being followed.
What? If it's not being followed, how is that now my responsibility? I'm out.
No, but the thing is this: if the law, according to what you're saying, there's a law, okay? Because I saw it myself firsthand when I was working for a certain company. One individual came from India, okay? They paid him double what I was being paid, and renting his house in Kabloga, and I had to train him on how systems work and everything.
Yeah, and then after you train him, they fire you.
Okay? You see what I'm saying? So I realized, I was like, look, why we don't appreciate, I think the labor laws in Zambia don't appreciate.
No, they do, Bachanda.
No. I'm telling you, like, here, I can tell you 100%, 110%. A Canadian is better than anybody.
No, but you see, in a way I work here in Canada, I get money like any other person in my position. There's nothing like, oh, this one is what. No, I am equally trained. I get the same money like anyone in my area. And that is not even hidden. It's in the company, is known by everybody. So we must be able first to put that in perspective. What I'm telling you, Bachanda, in the past, before 2019, our laws were weak. That is why 8 years ago, we started to change the employment code, codifying it, bringing in the minimum wages and the condition of employment cap 278, the Employment Act cap 268, the special provisions and everything, putting them in one and then strengthening it. The problem that has been there is that when people are recruiting these monitoring mechanisms, people to monitor, you go and recruit 30,000 teachers, and yet we can only have 150 labor officers.
No, I think you're going.
No. I'm just giving an example.
That's not what I was talking about.
No. Listen, you're not listening to me. Don't cut.
I am, but that's not what we're talking about.
See the relationship. I'm talking about the relationship to where you have a good law, but it's not enforced. It's about enforcing mechanisms that are there. So it's not about that the law is not there which protects people. It is there. Like the sections I was telling you, they are there in the employment code. But then who is enforcing them? The capacity to enforce is a problem right now. And it was a problem when we changed the law. And one of the solutions was that let's work with the local governments, occupation safety department, so that they become inspectors, and then the administrative part of local government can help us into labor relations, which means dispute resolution mechanisms within the districts. So these things are there on paper. What I would love is to see government jump in and capacitate the ministry to follow up all these things, because you imagine these mines are huge. They have huge numbers of people, and they have a lot of highly very qualified people. You need focused kind of check. So when I talk about this, it's a small measure to respond to Badani's point, to say what Badani was saying is an overall long-term strategy. And remember, even says we must be patient to look at as we look in the future. But then I'm saying this oversight long future that we're looking out for is usually overdone by things like what I'm pointing out, things like these unfair biases that are happening at I was part of the solution. That's why I changed the law. That's why when you go there, the documents are there of what was done. What I'm telling you, who is in government, change any strategy. You can't just be condemning everything.
So now we need to look at our mining sector. What if you have imigodi copper belt? Okay, there are a lot of people that are mining illegally, and then ichalo balenda baechetawe lekeni abantu aba tuwapereko tuma license. Okay, and then in the same sector as we're speaking, ichalo cha Zambia chali kwata mukuba kwati it's one of the richest in the world. Natwakuma emerald, Nshishibio emerald, for all the government in the past, they have failed to explain the emerald mining system. But emerald, nobody has ever explained it. Why? Yours have a government guy, Tabala and Dapo Tabeka Tapo, Twalish Shaiba, D Tabasha.
No, because you see, what is there is in the pusher on the systems that I left, and also what was done on specific things. So I am here to explain, to say we shouldn't maybe go back and start to look what we have already. What we have already, the laws are there, the policy systems are there. What is causing the non-implementation? And then I give you a hint, as you guys that are supporting UPND government, to say, Moneni, I am a document here. It's just enforcement. But then when I give you the leakage that you need to enforce, at what is enforcing?
Okay. Bakalinda. Mwawele ni bani? Bakalinda mwachangu nwati.
I'm here.
Mulanda at North London, Vala Soluvilo.
That already today.
So anyway, what Sana is to end up with different topics, but the main topic to end up in the mining sector, and the big one is, that ownership when it comes to our mines. Why don't we have the ownership? Why is it?
I think we still have a slavery mentality. We haven't yet reached to a point where, why can't we negotiate like what the South Africans do? What the South Africans do? Come on! If you're bringing in investment, at least give us 50%. That should be the baseline. To me, Because if the South Africans can do it, the Namibians and the Swanas can do it. Why can't we? Why can't we have the same? Because I mean, we already have a roadmap from other countries. Why can't we do the same? I mean, the closest we have is that the Mopani deal where we have a 41% stake. Where is that?
Which we sold from 90%.
Yeah. Why can't we have that? So for me, I believe. I mean, I'm not gonna say lead. I mean, I'm gonna say leadership. The people that are leading us and that are in charge of negotiation on our behalf. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just don't get it why we can't get at least 50% of ownership in the mines, and then we're going to celebrate.
Before you go any further, has this just happened now, or it's been
since Kaunda.
Since
Kaunda era. To me, I look at it.
Chance to speak to that after Bakalinda.
Since the Kaunda era. I mean, why are we celebrating about a mining firm giving us 91 million kwacha in dividends when they are getting billions of dollars? Why are we celebrating that? I'm just asking, and I'll leave it there for Wakazia to come in because he said he wants to respond.
Yes, Wakalinda, your statement is I back it 2,000%. And you see, for me, it breaks my heart because I stayed on the copper belt for almost a month dealing with matters of that nature and discovering glaring things which made us start to change. Number one, when Mopani we received the Mopani at a silver platter, I can tell you, although the deal was not the best, I should say, but we started by having 90% shareholding, which for me, I was thinking the UPN deal, if we made the wrong strategies in how to place it, they would have still corrected it and maintained the 90% shareholding. We needed that to be a Zambian asset because when you look at the mine, when you look at Mopani, why those guys ran to do the care and maintenance, which they overturned when we went there and arrested the general manager who wanted to run away. They overturned the care and maintenance. And that is how Mr. Sakanya was appointed CEO, because of that CEO who was brought in and wanted to put a mine on care and maintenance. And we said, what are your reasons of putting this mine on care and maintenance? He didn't have any. They had a brand new shaft, which I inspected, went 1,200 underground. And they had a brand new smelter, which only needed $200 million to start working. The shaft needed about 50 million, I think $50 to $100 million. It is done. Everything done. The resource was surveyed, put there, it is here. This is where we're going to get our minerals and stuff like that. That is what made ourselves run into the 90%, and we would have looked for an equity partner and would have been off this sale. We would have taken up that. Starting on a shareholding of even 50% of our calendar would do a lot, because after our dividends, we share profit. We share 50%. These guys, Glencoe, were making $100 million each of the shareholders. And there is there on internet when you look at why poverty. Now imagine as a country at 50%. If they made $5 billion, would have made $5 billion in terms of money going to our treasury. And if we have $5 billion, if we have even $2 billion going into our treasury, what can we do with that money? We can do a lot. But right now, we are pleading for jobs. Because right now what will happen is that there is no country which can develop from jobs. Jobs, taxpayers, UN, and we say we can actually revamp our mining sector. We need ownership. And this ownership, Bakalinda, is the best way to go. If we can start, whoever is coming, is the mere fact that not to quarter copper, not to quarter a stake in it. We have a starting point. We have a resource that you are looking for. And this resource now, let's start talking about other things. 20% is to be in the basket because it is already there in the ground. How about going forward? Now imagine in FQM, what percentage do we have? 20% shareholding, they have 80%. They can make decisions in whatsoever they want and will do nothing. So, Vakalinda, these mines, John said they should cast us. If you look at vendetta, they are always. I'm telling you, and I told you, remember I said, 2 billion promise, which they never give the people. They never. Now, it's like, and look at what how they were treating our contractors. Our Zambian contractor, $250 per meter. $15,000 a meter. And these same guys who come as workers end up making companies and become suppliers and then leave. And do you know how they leave? They say we had voluntary separation with the mine. Maybe $10 million. I am South Africa, I can company, I'm supply. Others to Zambians who have been supplying our mines for 30 years, they are still there, seated. No one is looking after them. We need to change our mentality in terms of this ownership. It hates me. I want to see our shareholders.
Okay, but Danny, you've been too quiet. But Danny, are you there?
I'm here.
What's your 2 cents on the whole operation?
The good thing about our current living, we are living in, all the facts are on our fingertips. All the facts are on our fingertips. And again, I go back to the mining magazine of Africa. It clearly states what happened during the PF, what they are calling 90% shareholding. Okay? It is the Zambian government, according to this mining magazine. Again, that was 2021 version I'm reading here. PF government acquires 90% shareholding from Glencore. It says Zambian government paid $1 upfront to Glencore. However, Zambian government assumed 1.5 billion in debt, which was vendor financed, owned by Glencore, to be repaid from Mopani's future cash flows. It goes stock. Now, here's what the problem of this deal was, which PF doesn't say.
Okay.
I love that. This is what the Mining Africa Focus talks about.
Okay.
PF talks about 90%. Okay. We got 90%. What that meant was the following. PF celebrated this as Zambia reclaiming Mopani for Zambians. But here is the biggest problem of this deal, which Chandagazia is not talking about. Okay? This deal put Zambia in a very, very heavy debt. It was a debt-heavy deal for Zambia, which was going to subject Zambia to paying a debt for the next 35 years. That's what it meant. It was very heavy. Debt, what do they describe it as? Debt-heavy deal for Zambia. It didn't make any sense, in the sense that Zambia, for this 90%, they were supposed to be Glencore. In effect, Glencore, what they're saying, Glencore exited the operations of this mine, but still remain to be repaid their obligations by the Zambian government for the next 35 years. They were still financially tied. Zambian government was still going to be paying Glencore for 35 years. So here we go, we say we have obtained 90%. And yet this company said, okay, get your 90%, give us $1. $1 they got from Zambian government. But you're going to be paying us this amount of money every year for the next 35 years. That's why it was
how much were they supposed to be given?
They got $1.
Yes, but how much was Zambia supposed to be giving them?
This article doesn't say it, but it says it was. It said, here is the problem. PF celebrated this as Zambian reclaiming Mopani for Zambians, but this was a very bad, debt-heavy deal for the country. That's how this article describes it. It was a bad, debt-heavy deal for Zambia. It was going to subject Zambia to be paying Mopani and Glencore for the next 35 years. That's the reason why the UPND government, when they came, they said, no, We can't get the so-called 90%, and yet we'll be paying Mopani, Glencore for the next 35 years. Let's deal with it now this way.
Okay.
We can't subject our grandchildren for the... Glencore is going to be sitting in the corner there collecting money from Zambia for the next 35 years.
Okay. Let me correct a few things there, Dan, and the things that you also, that article does not address. That article does not address the quantums. It doesn't speak about the amounts, deliberately so.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm reading it. Here it is.
Okay, give me the figures.
Yes, it's here.
Okay.
The main challenges. Mm-hmm. Guys, we should be reading this as Zambians.
Go ahead, Wadani, because I have answers here.
Okay, here I'm reading the same from Africa Mining Focus. It's very important. Challenges after PF Mopani takeover. Number one challenge.
Okay.
Mopani needed over 300 million in working capital immediately to stabilize its operations from the Zambian government. So they gave them $1. Okay, and then they demanded 300 million in working capital immediately. Okay,
remember I talked about it.
The production, however, they are saying the challenges PF was celebrating over the takeover, but these are the challenges. First of all, the Mopani people said, now that we have taken over, we don't have 300 million to operate this mine.
Yes.
Zambian government did not have the 300 million of working capital. So
it had, and I'll tell you.
Yes. So Mopani now said, now I'm saying okay. So Fumiani 300 million of working capital. Otherwise, they folded their hands. So what happened? Production started declining 100 metric tons per year after the Zambian government got it. 1,000 metric tons because Zambian government did not have working capital.
When you say 100,000 metric tons, did the a year elapse to determine that 100?
The production, because there was no working capital, the production was gonna decline 100,000 metric tons per year, far below its potential of before they took over. ZCCMI lacked technical, financial, and human capacity to run this complex mine.
That is a lie.
The mine, here we go. The mine could not even generate enough cash flow to service the 1.5 billion debt that Glencore wanted immediately. So it's something that PF was celebrating, but it was a bad deal.
I will explain. At least I was part of it, so I will explain nicely.
Let me forward this article to everybody to read.
Yes, actually, that is, in fact, I am so happy. If you can throw that article, I will dissect it right here and answer to each and every concern and show you how people went and manipulated things to make sure that the Zambians look bad, like they have no capacity. And I'm going to give you the right information right here today. Not those articles that are written with a biased mind that we cannot run a company. Who tells them? What audacity do they have to say that, oh, the Zambian did not have the capacity?
Financial capacity.
Even the financial capacity was there. And I'm going to tell you where the finance was going to come from. The problem is that people manipulated that information to put at an international face so that they can have a reason to take over our mine. That is exactly what it was. The people that negotiated that deal were not the Zambians. They were people that had a lot of experience in negotiating transitions like what Glencore was putting across. They never tell you that there was an option of equity partnership and how that deal was going to be done had an equity partner be found. They never tell you that. They never tell you about the resource which is surveyed and quantified there. They say this is, like you say, they survey, they make sure that it's a defined resource, then the tonnage that is there. They never tell you that. They will never tell you that at that point when they wanted to leave, they had already mapped up the resource which was going to deal with the smelter. And an equity partner was going to be found just like that. Just like that. And number two, the 300 million, you remember I told you to say all what was required For the smelter was what? 250 million. For the shaft was what? $50 million. And at that point in time, 500 million through 2 government institutions was there. NAPS had that 500 million and Workers' Compensation Fund Control Board. Who would have taken the 10% shareholding and given us that money? And that would have remained what? A Zambian asset. So the 500 million was there. The same institution that are financing the Ndola Nduo Carriage Road, the money, where did the money come from? It came from 2 Zambian institutions. And I happened to have been the controlling officer for those 2 institutions. So I knew how liquid they were. So to come and say there was no financial capacity is a total lie. They never tell you about the equity partner.
Can I finish?
Number 2.
Was 2 more paragraphs.
Let me just maybe respond that
because it talks about UPN government different approach.
Let me first of all let me finish this, but then you can tell me what the UPND government did. Now, because I'm talking about what the article is not speaking to, which I think they should have spoken to. Because Imovadan, you say you always look at the positives and negatives. What is the positive in that deal which was there?
That's what I want to read.
And remember, I said it was not the best deal. It was not the best. Now, does it mean the UPND have given us the best?
That's what I want to read.
You understand? So the people that look for these mines and this, here is that mine which has with the people we've given the mine. If no mines, they just brought in money. If the money was not done there, they even just played around with words, financial words, and we ended up financing it as debt as well. So the question of saying, oh, that deal which was done was disastrous, and the 25 years was going to be terminated immediately an equity partner is found. Or if we raised the production and paid off the money, that was going to end. The 25 years was made to make sure that the time value of money, when people look at the time value of money, at least I'm lucky that I'm married to an actuary and a chartered financial analyst who will tell you about the time value of money. Why would you pay $1.5 billion in the next 25 years? It was because of the time value of money, looking at what was invested in when you pay $1. And they also had interest in what was going to be produced. 20% was going to be given to Glencore. So it's not that that deal in entirety was wrong. Okay, let's say that certain aspects of that deal was wrong. Why shouldn't UPND come and maximize on the 90% and restructure a few things to make it? Or can she bring it to 60%? Or can she bring it to 70%? At least we should have been the majority shareholding. Whatever you corrected, if PF messed up, if we messed you guys like really bad, we should have at least even maintained the 51% shareholding so that we have the majority, a controlling shareholding. That was not done.
Can I finish now? Please, and then someone else can talk. Because
go ahead.
So this article, again, Mining Focus Africa Mining Focus, it says the rationale for PF government was naturalistic policy to increase government control of strategic mines. 2, political gain ahead of 2021 elections. 3, belief that copper prices will rebound and Mopani would quickly generate profit for Zambia and then pay off the debt in a short period of time. Now, why did UPND government come and have a different approach? When UPND government came in power in 2021, they did not reverse a 90% ownership. Instead, wow, I didn't know that. Instead, they looked for strategic equity partner to recapitalize Mopani. Mamfa. When UPND came in power, they did not reverse the 90% ownership. Instead, they looked for a strategic equity partner to recapitalize Mopani. The reason was, A, they inherited a debt burden from PF Glencore deal. 2, they acknowledged that Zambia could not afford the billions of dollars needed to revitalize Mopani without private investment. And 3, their economic philosophy was investment-led growth other than state control growth. Those were the outcomes of
you see, and those are the capitalistic.
One more paragraph. The outcome of this decision by UPND in December 2023, UPND secured a 1.1 billion investment agreement with International Resources Holding of UAE company, giving them the stake in Mopani. The deal recapitalized Mopani paying off the debt and boosting the production that was initially going down into 200,000 metric tons increase in the production of more. So Mopani has been revitalized now. Instead of reducing in the product, because Glencoe, they just said, but they folded their hands. They said, if you want to produce, produce. But Zambia could not do that. But now, we are now producing 200.
But Danny, you are wrong. Including the author of that document, you are wrong. And I would want to challenge the person who wrote that with questions. Because those questions, you are not going to answer them. You cannot answer them. Neither are they being answered in the document. They are not. You see,
are you saying that the production at
no, I'm not starting with the production. The production would have increased steadily. And the same way that we're saying, there's something that they are not saying. Number one, how much did the Resource Foundation bring in? How much? And how much was owed? What?
1.1 billion.
How much money did the Glencoe want?
1.5.
You see?
Eh? Okay.
One more minute to Achanda, then I'm done. How much were we supposed to pay? What timeline were we given to pay this 1.5 billion? And then number two, didn't we have a 500 million in Zambia right at that right moment in time? We had that money using the Zambian state-owned assets. And this is one of the things I said, rather than the state-controlled. But look at everywhere that we are moving into, Zambia, Botswana, South Africa, Tanzania. They are not letting the investors come and run their mines. They are getting the higher stake. We are the only ones that are giving it for free for them. And everything that they brought in, they will get. And we shall remain with jobs. And the jobs will take us nowhere because we are also underpaid in the same jobs that people are working in. We need to change the mindset and start having majority shareholding. We cannot have 100% basically because we also need maybe some huge guys with that have known, but we need to run the majority shareholding. On human resource, we have the best engineers. They are there. Sakanya is there. Simuto is there. There are others. Banda was there.
Okay.
Zambians running the mines.
Well, you talk a good game. You talk a good game, but it's something that was never implemented when the PF government was in power. So
it was implemented. You destroyed it.
No.
It never materialized.
During the PF government,
that was 2020.
Yeah, but there was no mine that was 100% owned by Zambians. So there was no mine that was 100% owned by Zambians.
You are correct. So, there was only mine owned 90%. Now tell me which mine is owned 100% by Zambians in the current.
So here's what before we lose our thought.
However, Papa mine pain. I think I've known a little bit more than you guys because I was
knowledge. Yes, we appreciate your knowledge. We appreciate your knowledge.
A little bit more.
We appreciate your knowledge.
Personal experience, not just the knowledge, on the ground experience.
Because
I went in these mines. So on the part, maybe now you can talk about
ideology
now, but not then.
The ideology of PF was nationalism to by national.
No.
The UPND prefers public-private sector partnership.
It's not public-private partnership when you're giving it away.
Nobody's giving anything away. But here's the big deal. The big deal is this. We've just signed a big major project with Qatar. You know, Awandowa Katendalama oil company. Oil, those people are huge. So we've just signed a deal, an MOU.
Let him speak.
No, hold on. Let me just finish. We've just signed a great MOU that's going to encompass all these things. Ikatampa kuma mining, housing, agriculture, everything. Okay? So if you're from Walera and the Philadelphia Kariati, Baeche Chinwaka Mwenda, Nani Kane, Valenda, these are the fruits. Now, if you see our delegation in Squativalia, they come to State House. I can tell you 100%.
But PF were the politically attractive programs, but financially unsustainable.
Okay? I can tell you, even the president himself is telling
you are saying the country imwe.
Takuri muna iwe walaleta koleba yaso inenaleta leba yaso twakana pakati twada ni business ofo yava
check the stakes that you have in these companies. Any shareholding.
That's why it's a private partnership. Not if for direct investment. Vaisa mwata vami perenderama and then tampoco dictate on what if you partners. What coming in as partners?
Partners, you are not taking.
Me, I base my facts on professionals writing and talking.
We question the professionals. They've written. We question them, but then they don't have answers.
You guys, you are PF. You talk with the.
No, we question you when you bring your professionals. We question your professionals, and the professionals that you are quoting have no answers to the questions that we are posing.
To me, when I read facts written by when I want to find about biology,
can I just come in for just a minute? I'm at work, so I'm in between. So anyway, let me just say here, I think it's best to go with facts than our own imagination.
Yeah.
When it comes to the mining industry, because that's an industry that employs more than half the country. That's why people are living on the copper belt. And now we have, a new exodus of young people going to the copper belt to look for, even Sowezi, to look for mining jobs. So, yes, there are wrong things that we've done. I question it myself, but let's take the positives out of everything that's been going on. Let's look at the last 10 years of PF. The mines were closing, or they were being put on receivership. We saw a situation where somebody was withdrawing 100 million kwacha, who is a receiver, and putting it in his own personal account. And then we had, the party of the day, which I'm not going to mention, using the mines as a money bag for their party activities in the country. Those are facts. Those are facts.
I have a question for you.
Not that fallacy. Let me finish. I know. Okay, I'll answer your question, but let me finish. Now we go back in the last 4 years where mines are being resuscitated. People are being employed. Consumption as we speak, it's moving towards 20,000 employees. And then you talk about the 1,000 of, direct, what do you call them? Indirect, yes. Beneficiaries from the mines. And then the money that they're putting back into the economy, like paying dividends to the government. There was that announcement last week where FQM paid one of the largest dividends ever. In our how many years of as a country? 60 years. Yeah. They paid one of the largest. Those are the positives that we need to be taken. The copper belt is once again firing up. Look at that oil refinery, $1.5 billion in dollar. Those are positives. Nobody's gonna give you that money and say, okay, you guys own 100% or 90% of it. That's just the reality. It's business. But I'd rather get 41% of Mupani, and then I'm getting $20 million that is going into social investments, like community projects that are being, carried out every day. I'd rather do that than putting a mine on receivership, and then the money is being scrapping metals, whatever you're getting is going to party functionaries. That's the fact.
You
can
you take over a mine.
You guys, you see, if you find FQM had done a transfer price of $2 billion to Panama. The next thing Ingira Punch Mwapange Mingala.
PF got 90%, but they had no money to run the mine.
The money was there, only that Mufayoku.
Why did you run the mine? You put it on
no, listen, the problem, Mufayoku won't you see, don't use $2 billion. Abantu na mubekata basende ndalama bafishe mpia mchalo mwabeka.
Let's talk about the mine, please.
No, I'm talking that's from the mine. What are you talking about? You want to pretend like you're angels. These guys are
the problem is you took all the
I think let's we need to close in the next.
Let me just finish this one up in 1 minute, and then I'll answer what Danny Nabakalinda in 1 minute. You see, what we're supposed to be doing forward, we go back into the PFUPND thing. It doesn't help us because I bring out these issues like 2 billion yafuma money. So what did you do? You can't mine in court. The next thing, never paid a fine of $22 million. How? We should be getting $2 billion from Mopan to government treasury. International Resource Foundation in 2024.
That's more than 1 minute.
No experience whatsoever.
In conclusion,
Minister of Justice.
It's fine.
Okay. So, anyway, we need to move forward and close it. So, sometimes kutashe fintu nga mwamune fintu mwatasha na kutasha.
Effort to let us shift to 2 billion. Namuleta bwino. Na tutashoka ba 2 billion yomulete.
Awe omfweni teka nyedi. Uliria shio trera ndapo wa government ya Zambia ne ya China na bengira mukati balanda awe mwe bantu bakwalesa tentumfwani if mwakwate fma stadium for ba in fact China eba kulide fma stadium Hero Stadium eba kulide kuna Copper Belt levi mwana wasa
under a PFT.
Okay, it doesn't matter whether it was under whoever, but it was built. The government. We're talking about the government. UPND. So the government of Baliland, of Baland, of Bonfide Nama China. Oh, if into fee, like any an independent source of power. In terms of solar. So now I still agree our 20 megawatts or 20 whatever it is. Yeah, bara pangana nkane station para pene pa stadium. Okay? Meaning that and analysis over that stadium it only needs about 1 megawatt. And then, shala ikala mma communities, kumatero na mashala I forget that place, all the other surrounding neighborhood areas, which is a good thing. So, area of Amalite and stuff like that, it's coming in different forms, different angles, different, they'll be shocked at the end of the year, 2026 in Africa, 2026. We're complaining about, electricity, or complaining about this, but what's this happening here? So these are the things that have never been, advanced before. And as a matter of fact, the government should go further, actually, to put Iriana and Hero Stadium into a lucrative business. Keep all those abantu in the surrounding areas, make it into a cosmopolitan place where what boutiques, shops. Before you even go to the mall, you're surrounded by all these beauties in terms of shops. Those are the ideas that I would present if I was somebody in charge of a project like that. Other than just having a big nice stadium and then surrounded by garbage and trash and stuff like that. Create an environment because it's surrounded by other businesses, and those other businesses, they coincide with the main arena. Well done.
Yeah. Action.
Hey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, fantastic. So closing remark. Let's close up. Me, I'm there. I think I just did my closing remarks.
Oh, you did your closing remarks, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, my closing remark. I'm very passionate about the Mopani thing and the mining thing, because this is driving our country forward. And I feel very sad to hear about PF talking about, what we did was 90%. Oh, you shouldn't have reversed it. I do a lot of research myself before I talk. I want facts, and the Focus Mining Focus Africa, whatever they call that magazine, guys, let's read it. It's PhD in mining sciences. These authors that's what they do. That's all they do. They are mining consultant experts. So they talk sense. When they talk about mining in these African countries, they know what they're doing. They are experts. They are consultants in mining in Africa. They are Africans. They are not what they are Africans consultants. So when I read an article like that is analyzed by somebody like that, an African who specializes in mining, investments in mining in Africa, I really take it really seriously. And this article really has taught me a lot about the PF 90% talk, where they said it was going to be 90% takeover, but essentially debt-financed ownership, okay, where Zambia was going to be, it was more of a symbolic type of gesture than a practical thing. That's what this PhD mining expert is talking about. It was more of a symbolic, it was done just before the elections, to make sure that Zambians were saying, oh yeah, they've taken over, we are doing this. So it was a symbolic thing. It was not practical. UPND did not do that. They didn't want symbolism, standing on the pulpit, oh, we're doing this, when it was not financially practical. To me, the model that UPND took in Mopani was the best, and we are seeing the fruits right now from what they did. Other than for us, who would have been under the yoke of Glencore for the next 25 years. I don't like that, but now we are equal partners. We have our share, they have their share. Nobody owes anybody anything, which is the best. Otherwise, we would have been owning them for the next 25 years. I think what the government did was a very strategic investor type of model, other than what PF would have done. So in short, to me, it's better for us to own 45% and not pay Glencore for the next how many years. So it's a good thing that we are doing, and I always encourage my friends, my PF people, please do your research and read some productions or articles from experts. We cannot all be experts. We are experts in our own fields, but when it comes to a specific field that you want to learn something, read from the experts and listen, other than just talking from a political point of view. Oh no, this and that. To me, that's the way I look at things. If I want to learn biology, I go to a biology PhD professor who has written an article about the cell or the whatever, because he's an expert. I'm not going to argue when talk about biology from a biology professor. No, he knows it best. So PF, please listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vakalinda.
These are my final remarks on the subject.
Yes.
I think our resident PF brought out some very interesting, thoughts that we as people in power should act on, especially where labor matters are concerned. I think that's important for our people. They need a living wage. If they are making $250, how much is that in Qatar? 5,000 something. That's not a living wage. When the price of when a bag of meal it's 300 Qatar or 290 or whatever the price may be. Let's work on that. While we're bringing here, we appreciate the investment and we're getting people back to the working line. Let's also look at their wages. It's very important, and how their safety. That's also important for our people, because we want them to work for a long time so they can take care of their kids and their kids' kids. So on that, that's all I have to say. And then, of course, everything is working up now. Mupani is firing up. KCM is firing up. FQM is firing up. Kasech is firing up. Luansha is firing up. I'm told they're about to finish dewatering and fire that, mine up. So all these are good things, because we need them to work so that our people can get employment. And then, we attain that middle class status that has been eluding us forever. And so that's what I have to say on the mining topics today.
Thank you very much. Lakazia?
For me, you see, for me, what makes a very sad reading for me is that you colleagues that are in UPND, Limo, you should know that you can't get experience through books. You have to go through it. What I bring to this conversation is my personal experience and personal review of the things that I personally experienced and what I saw when I was in the office. Of course, I take time to read, but I also am critical of what I read. I don't just take everything at face value because they are written by a mining so-called expert who has not worked in the sector, probably. Has just researched and analyzed things from a theoretical point of view. Most of the things that, yes, are written there are theoretical, because when they are challenged, I challenge what I read or what is said with questions. If someone responds to say, I don't know, I take it that they don't know what the issue is. And then I move on to say, okay, maybe because they don't have the answer for this, that is why they've spoken like this. And more importantly, on things that are pertaining to the Zambian mining sector itself, post-2021, because all these things that we're talking about were done in 2021. And I told you colleagues here, I went in the mines, I was there for a month, but Danny knows. When I was on the copper belt, we used to talk. And what I would discover in those meetings that I had, speaking to the mine contractors, speaking to the unions in the mine, speaking to the contractors at different levels, the ones that were doing the shafts, the ones that were doing the vertical, drilling, the ones that were actually suppliers of heavy equipment. I spoke to most of them, Zambians, expatriates. I reviewed documents personally. The documents that probably some of the PhD scholars have not had sight because they will never be given such documents because of the privacy issues. I saw them. So at times I speak from a position of having that direct experience, because when I was in the labor department and working in there, I had the unlimited access to the documents because of the way the law is structured. That's why certain things I can't review the details, the names and stuff like that. I can speak to the generalities of it. And that's why you hear me quickly say, no, that is not true because of ABCD. It's because I had that direct experience. And I would wish that you colleagues that are in the UPND, you need to hear from direct experience. At times, we may not make a lot of sense when we are bringing out these things. But when you start experiencing what we were experiencing, what we saw, and that is when we come back and tell you, oh, remember what I said. I have come to you colleagues here when we discuss and say, guys, remember what I said? Remember what I said? And Dan knows, I always go back to him and say, what did I tell you on this? And then at that point in time, you find that things. Yo badani imwema mwalishi wanga ndiye mubikamo because because the things that we discussed, that I discussed with you mwantalika ngafyasa asikana abwera tibadani mwamona fena chimeba. You know, at times you've agreed with me, at times you've said, maybe it's the dynamics that have changed. We have had those conversations in the background. But I can tell you, Badani, and everyone else what's under here, that this is meant that it's not meant to be malicious, but it is meant to support. Because I can also choose to just be one of those that keep quiet and watch why things happen. I can choose to be that, and there'll be nothing that I'll lose. So I appreciate the conversation. Then lastly, on the power, I think that's a good move. Let's encourage that kind of diversity, the use of that stadia into those programs of solar energy. If we can use that in Ndola, we just also create other stadia and put the solar panels and start to, let the community start to benefit. That would be great. It will add a lot of value to our people.
Fantastic. I think we've all said most brilliant issues and stuff that everybody wanted to say. But Andagazia, of course, we acknowledge your input, but a certain thing.
Vadani, just on the public forum, at least if I offended you, I'm sorry about that. It was a conversation on the other forum. So if I misspoke about certain things and all that, it is never meant to disrespect you. You know that I respect you so very much.
I would understand. I mean,
I just want him to know that I am still your friend, Vadani. I respect and love our conversations.
All right, I will see you all tomorrow on Bantu TV when we discuss some interesting topics as always. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Make a date.
Okay, Minister of Justice. Valanda, Minister of Justice. So anyway, good night, guys. Good night, lady and gentlemen. We'll meet again next time, this same time, and discuss more issues. But otherwise, God bless, and have a wonderful weekend. Everybody can go and relax, and just have a drink and something like that, and just relax. I mean, hey, just go and relax. Nobody you killed nobody, so the world is ours. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.